the natural beauty of what we grow is just like, it's so inspiring and it's so exciting. Like each season you get excited about every new crop, like the asparagus peeking through the ground, the flavour of spring garlic after winter.
The east coast of Australia has been smashed again with floods, and I think one of the things that really brought the situation home, at least to the hospitality community in Victoria, was the flooding of Somerset Heritage Farm near Seymour on the Goulburn River. I've been following this story with, a bit of heartbreak and then, occasional optimism and hope. Today we are talking to farmer Chloe Fox. Chloe, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us here at Dirty Linen.
Thank you very much for having me, Dani.
How are you doing?
Today is a pretty amazing day. We actually had our first working bee on the farm yesterday, with sort of everyone invited along, like our community, people from our farmers markets, restaurants in Melbourne, our local community. Yeah, we had an amazing turnout and we got so many jobs done on the farm, all of the most daunting jobs, the things that just take time and effort and, just pure labour. They really got achieved yesterday. And, it was such an amazing day for us. We're just so full of hope and energy for our path forward now.
Well, I'm so pleased to hear that and so happy to catch you in this moment when you can feel the groundswell of support and, jobs are getting done. I mean, maybe for people who haven't been following this story and don't know anything about you, explain a little bit about the farm, the floods and the jobs that needed to be done.
Okay, so we have a 4-acre vegetable farm on the Goulburn River in Seymour. We're right on the river, borders us on 3 sides of the farm, and we've got a beautiful red gum borderline that traces around and follows the river. And then on one side of the farm we've got a gully which also flooded. So about a bit over 2 weeks ago now, the river really rose up fast and broke its banks and essentially engulfed our farm. We became a part of the river. Like the mighty flow of the Goulburn River was rushing through our farm. I think the floodwaters peaked at about a bit over 1.5 meters from at 8.2 metres technically from the river, but sitting at about 1.5 meters over our farm. Which pretty much wiped out everything. All of our crops destroyed for the season. We lost a bit of infrastructure and had to do a lot of repairs. We'll have to re-establish all of our beds and irrigation. We'll need to do a lot of work, but we have done a lot of work. It's just, it was... They say a 1 in 100-year flood or things like that, and it's kind of hard to comprehend until you actually are seeing it or kayaking through it, as we were at various points throughout the flooding.
And tell us a little bit about the kinds of produce that you've been growing and who you've been supplying it to.
Yeah, okay, so we love to grow food that makes people excited to eat vegetables. We grow a lot of heritage and heirloom varieties, and we really just grow for flavour and just for absolutely beautiful food to eat. We sell directly to restaurants and farmers markets and to local customers through Open Food Network. And we have this amazing, by selling to restaurants, we get to grow all of this interesting stuff that we then get to create demand for or introduce to our customers at farmers markets, and then they also start to embrace all of these more more unique vegetables, things that you wouldn't find in stores necessarily, or vegetables that your nonna or your grandparents used to grow or are popular in other countries, and people from other cultures come to the markets and are excited to see that we're growing these things that they only know from their countries. yeah.
How did you get into it, Chloe? What made you want to farm in this way?
So I kind of actually came into farming from the perspective of someone who loved eating. I throughout my various uni life and early working life, I was drawn into a bit of a food politics lens, as well as like a working in hospitality to support myself when I was younger, and just always getting drawn back into that, and then realising that I was just really interested in where all this food was coming from and like who was doing it. And I had come from a farming family, but we'd moved away from the land, and when I was a teenager, and then going back into it in a different sort of field. I dabbled in like volunteering and woofing and doing different types of farming, and started out by growing a garlic crop. I was lucky enough to start working on this farm for someone else, having found this farm through volunteering and working for other people. And I worked for the original person who started this farm, Robbie, for about 2 years, and then Robbie wanted to take off and travel the world, and I was lucky enough to get to take over and really grow the farm to what it was.
Everyone I've spoken to in the city who uses your produce, and in fact, using your produce is really not the way to talk about it, because what they talk about is the deep connection that they have with you and the way they love to respond to what you're growing. Like, it feels like, where I think produce and sourcing has to get to, which is where it's driven by what farmers are growing. It's a conversation. It's responsive. It's not this, ticking items off an order sheet after you've, spontaneously dreamt up a dish. What kind of relationships have you found you've had with chefs and restaurateurs? So
I feel so fortunate to work with the people we do. They are incredibly inspiring, and they do the most beautiful things with our food. And it's a self-selection thing. The chefs we work with are the ones that want to work with the best of what we're doing that season, and to really just be inspired by what is coming out of the ground. And also, like, increasingly as well, we're discovering that different parts of the plant that you might not traditionally be able to buy. Those are incredibly good to eat as well, and like the reasons that we don't eat those plants are more like driven by what you can sell in a store, or what can be harvested efficiently by a large machine and things like that. Whereas we get to, like, we're doing all of our harvesting by hand, where like our crops stay in the ground, and that we really like watch them through the life cycle. So we have things like radish pods. If our radishes have gone to flower, or some of the crop has gone to flower, and then we sell radish flowers, then we sell the radish seed pods as they come in, and they're these amazing, like, tasty little crunchy, juicy radish beans almost. We sell things like broccoli and Brussels sprout leaves, horseradish leaves are one of the big things we've been selling a lot of the past few years. We do a lot of spring garlic, so young, tender, green garlic shoots through to like green garlic as it starts to bulb up. So the chefs we work with, and a lot of the time they're the ones inspiring us to harvest these things, and they ask us about different parts of the plant, and then we start to offer that to different parts of, different customers are able to then, really embrace just all facets of what we're growing.
I mean, it seems mean to then talk about the fact that you've lost the whole crop. What sort of impact you've been flooded, other farmers have been flooded. There's obviously, enormous impacts to food supply through these recent floods. How do you get your head around that? What do you think?
Look, we're treating this as an opportunity to to redesign the farm and to really, like, once you've been farming on a piece of land for a few years, you have a few ideas about, like, what you would do to make it better. We're treating this as an opportunity to really make those changes and to, like, embrace better design and, like, really think about the crops we love growing and what does really well here. It's a little bit of a circuit breaker in that sense. So we've just got to treat this as an opportunity more than anything. And yeah, like, really it gives us a chance to focus, like, on the things that really make this farm great and, like, why we do what we do.
Wow. That's so impressive. So what are you thinking? What do you want to change and what do you want to grow? Even just basic things like the exact layout of the farm and, like, practicalities of, like, how we get around the farm and things like that. Like, it's all very like, banal stuff, but it does make a huge difference into your workflow or, like, the health of crops. Like, even just we're putting in perennial borders and things like that. So windbreaks that are also beneficial to, like, we harvest from them at certain points. We allow for habitat for native birds and bees and other insects that are beneficial to the farm. We do have a really biodiverse sort of farm. We've got a lot of insect life. We grow a lot of different crops, and we allow things to flower to attract, like, all sorts of different pollinators and beneficial insects. We've got all these tiny little birds that really enhancing that part of the farm. So things like that we really get to embrace now, and we might not have gotten the chance to do that without this. Also just, and I've just been thinking more and more about the different life cycle of the plant and, like, what is, like, what do we eat? Why do we eat it at that stage? Like, are there things, like, different stages of the life cycle that might be perfect for eating? Would it, like, things like, we've been harvesting a lot of broad bean leaves for the past few years, and we actually are finding that's increasing our eventual output of broad beans as well. So rather than taking away from the eventual broad bean harvest, where we've got this incredibly, like, long season harvest of broad bean leaves, which are so tasty and delicious and incredibly popular. And then we still have this beautiful, like right now we would be harvesting the first of our broad beans on farm, and doing a lot of baby broad beans and things, so you eat the entire pod. Just really, thinking about plants over their different life phases, and Brilliant. So, I mean, you mentioned, they talk about it as a 1 in 100 year flood, but I mean, we know Lismore's had, let's say, 3 1 in 100 year floods in 6 months.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Yeah, the confidence, like the mindset of rebuilding when it could happen again.
Look, it's an absolutely terrifying prospect, but at the same time, like, the way we grow food in Australia, and just by the nature of growing food, we're always going to be in areas that are prone to flooding, prone to bushfire. Like, the land we're growing on, we're incredibly lucky to grow on this land right beside the river. It's incredibly fertile. We've got access to good, clean water from the river. It's incredibly conducive to growing good vegetables, and it is good farmland. And it's also farmland that won't be developed into housing estates, which you're sort of seeing on the margins of Melbourne all over. So much of the productive land on the edges of all of our cities is being turned into other things, into non-agricultural use. And, like, the long-term for farming is we're going to see more and more events like this. And natural disaster is always going to be, I think, at our doorstep. How we adapt to that, like, there's no way I can completely flood-proof this farm, and I have to be cognizant of that fact. We can build smarter and better. We've seen the way the water can run through the farm. We can do as much to mitigate for a flood, but we can never flood proof it. It's a trade-off for being able to farm here. And yeah, I think as a society, we've got to work out a way to, if we want to be able to continue to eat food, we've got to work out a way to support the rebuilding of agriculture after natural disasters. It's our community support has been absolutely wonderful, and we wouldn't be able to continue farming without all the support we've received. But I think we probably need to, as a society, work out some sort of system for restoring farms that are hit by, rather than just relying on the goodwill and spirit of community, which is wonderful, and we're so lucky to have had it. But yeah, looking at a wider system for helping people recover after these incidents.
Yeah, because I guess, being shocked and surprised doesn't really play when we know it's going to happen. If hopefully not on your farm, but it's going to happen somewhere.
Definitely, and yeah, there is no farmland that you can stop. You can't just stop farming these areas because there might be a flood. These are the food bowls of our country. This is where we produce food. If we want to keep eating food, we're going to have to realise that these things will continue to happen, and how we recover after them is the most important thing in terms of continuing to grow that great food.
So you had this amazing working bee yesterday, or we're talking on Sunday, so it happened on Saturday. Tell us what everyone mucked in and did.
So we've all of our fences were either very badly destroyed or damaged, and there was just it's been a great year for growing grass and silage in our region, so there was this incredible wave of just mats of grass that have coated all of the fences. So we even just had to by hand go in and muck in and just pull off this grass matting to even see the fences and underneath them. So we just had an army of people doing that, which is incredibly not glamorous work, but everyone was just so amazing. So we had heaps of people doing that. We had a huge rhubarb patch, which we're going to relocate. It's rhubarb, our rhubarb will survive. It's been knocked about a bit, but the roots are still intact. But where it was getting a bit soggy and they're not very happy. So we're going to relocate them to a different part of the farm. So everyone just mucked in and dug out this huge patch of rhubarb, and those things, the thing I would compare them to, a rhubarb root looks like a mandrake. It's this wild alien-looking creature that takes a bit of wrestling out of the ground. An incredible mud army of people. We had we had a huge amount of just rubbish cleanup, things that have washed in from the river, nets from the farm. We've got a vineyard. We are within a vineyard property, so nets from the vineyard, just farming, all of our infrastructure and stuff, things that had crumbled, they'd washed into parts of the farm and into the vineyard, so cleaning up that debris. We've got some amazing friends who have heavy machinery, so getting that heavy machinery into that and really just getting that out. And then, people taking it, just mantling all of our irrigation pipes and things like that, just so we've got a clean slate to get in, do the machine work and re-establish our beds, and then we can go back in and set up irrigation again. So just really hard work. Everybody had the most amazingly good spirits, and just such a happy and wonderful bunch of people just showed up with, we just got so much work done, things that would have taken us months, and just to do by yourself or with a small team are incredibly disheartening. But with the 45 or so people that came yesterday, we just knocked out all of those jobs, and it was so wonderful.
That's so awesome. Now, I think when food people come and help with some jobs on the land, someone's going to bring some fuel to feed these workers. What did you guys eat?
Oh, we had so much food. People that couldn't come to the actual day also sent along food. We had these amazing cakes. Jo from Mushrooms Anonymous, another food legend of Melbourne. Every chef would know her. She sent along these amazing cakes and bread rolls, and just everybody raved about them. We're still eating them this morning, and I've got a few meals of cake planned for the day. Just amazing salads and scones and curries and dals and just people brought boxes of veggies. Like, I think that's one of the hardest things. Like, right now we don't have a farm to eat from, and we're so used to just going out and picking whatever we feel like, and not being able to have vegetables we've got boxes of veggies from people's home gardens. That was incredibly thoughtful and inspiring, and that was wonderful. The lunch yesterday was epic.
So good.
Yeah.
Now, Chloe, I have to inquire after the health of the goats.
Yes.
And can you please tell the listeners your goat story?
Yeah. So when our gully filled up and cut off sort of our walking access to the farm, so our road access was cut off very early, and then our pedestrian bridge went under, and we were sort of reduced to accessing the farm by kayak. And then the farm became only navigable by kayak. We have some goats, 2 young buck goats, who are kind of nuisances and eat the occasional weed. Well, eat a lot of weeds, but just more pets than anything else, along with our 15 motley chickens. So we moved them to the highest point we could. We had our pack shed on the farm. By the time the water broke over, it was too late to get them out. Like, it happened all very suddenly. So we got them to the pack shed on the farm, walking them over in the day just through about a foot of water, and got them to what we hoped was high enough ground. And then had them up on tables and platforms in the pack shed for that terrifying Thursday night where all the rain was coming in and the floodwaters were still rising. That was a horrible night. We were unsure whether we'd honestly just condemn these poor goats to a horrible drowning. And we just had but the river was just torrenting through at that point, and we had no way to get them to safety other than that point. So on the Friday morning, my partner Cam kayaked over into the pack shed, and the first thing he heard was this goat bleat of welcome, and like, Cam's he's cried twice, I think, in this entire thing. We won't talk about how much I've cried, but the sound of those goats got him crying in the pouring rain on his kayak. So he got in there, popped a life jacket onto a goat at a time. One of the goats has an incredible set of horns on him, so that was all the more fun. They are mini goats, but they're still decent sized. And he popped the goats on the kayak while they jumped off into the water immediately, and then decided that it would be better on the kayak in their life jackets, and paddled them back to a slightly higher point at the house. And we were able to then get them up to a friend's pony yard. There aren't many places you can just keep a goat. They're known for breaking out of fencing, so they've been in our friend's pony yard for the 2 weeks now, while we build some decent fencing to keep them in again. And yeah, they've never liked us more. They're incredibly happy to see us every day, and they're very affectionate now.
What an extraordinary story. And yeah, I mean, it is. I can also feel emotion hearing that story of Cam kayaking in to see them, what's still standing up on the tables where you left them.
Yes, they just, we just the sound of those goats, like we were so worried that we also had to put 15 chickens in our bathroom in our farmhouse, which also flooded. But we had to evacuate our farmhouse that night. But we popped the 15 chickens in there with various perches and tables and chairs. But we were just unsure at that point how high the floodwater was going to get. So we were terrified that we'd come home to no chickens and no goats. And just seeing them all alive on the Friday morning, that was the biggest relief. And I think, yeah, a sign of like we can recover from this flood. And like if these crazy goats can survive a night like that, we can, yeah, the least we can do is rebuild for them and, yeah, manage to grow them some weeds to eat again. And, yeah.
Amazing, Chloe. So what do you think will be the first crop that you can regrow and supply to market?
Look, we'll be able to transplant that rhubarb crop that we dug up the other day, and then we're hoping in the next 2 weeks for it to dry out enough to establish some of those beds, and now those will go into those perennial areas of habitat along the edge of the farm. So we're hoping, and that rhubarb should grow pretty fast at this time of year. So we're hoping that will be available soon. I think our horseradish leaves, those things can survive anything. So we'll hopefully have horseradish and horseradish root also back on our list pretty soon. As soon as we can get in and start sowing crops, we've got a lot of tomato seedlings and peppers and eggplants and things that our amazing friends, Jo from Mushrooms and Non, she's doing some of our tomato seedlings. Our friends from the Veg Empire, they're amazing seedling growers as well. I'd recommend everyone checks them out. They've got our peppers and eggplants, and we're very excited to get them in. So hopefully we'll be looking at sort of February for harvesting, the start of that harvest. We'll start our leafy green production and things as soon as possible, and all those herbs, so we can have like some of those faster growing crops we'll have within sort of 6 to 8 weeks after we get to start planting things. We're hoping we'll do a smaller scale summer, and then just as we'll be too late in the season to really do the normal summer we'd do with a full farm. But yeah, we hope to be back on plates by early in the new year.
That's amazing. So pulling back from, the immediate, what is it that you love about growing vegetables, Chloe?
I think like the changing of the seasons here, and everything is always changing, and the natural beauty of what we grow is just like, it's so inspiring and it's so exciting. Like each season you get excited about every new crop, like the asparagus peeking through the ground, the flavour of spring garlic after winter. Like your body starts to crave those leafy greens at the start of spring, and you just want to like eat every green thing you ever see. And then like in the heat of summer, you've got all those amazing, like the cucumbers, and just the beautiful diversity of like all of these different crops and old varieties, things that just have so much flavour and personality, and it's just so exciting. And then also just seeing what people do with them, like taking these vegetables to chefs and restaurants and seeing what they create with them, things you'd never imagine. Or taking them to market and having a person come and ask you, like, what's different? What are you growing at the moment? Like, and taking away a vegetable and coming back the next week and telling you what they did with it and how much they loved it and what new thing are they going to try next. Like, that's incredibly inspiring, and like it's the reason we are doing what we do. Like it's so, like, I love seeing people excited about food, and especially vegetables. Like, yeah, it's a great feeling.
Wow. I mean, I can really feel that there's that energetic transfer that's in the vegetable itself, but then I really feel like, everyone that eats something that you've grown can feel the energy and the love that you've put into it as well. It's a really beautiful medium for connecting.
Yeah. it feels like art sometimes. It's just, it's nature's art. Like it's how can you not be excited and inspired by it?
Love it, Chloe. Well, thank you so much for taking the time from your long list of jobs to chat to us today. I know it's going to mean a lot to people to hear from you at this crucial time in your journey. All the best with rebuilding and growing, and I hope nature gives you lots of beautiful things to watch over the coming months.
I'm sure it certainly will. We just, we're so fortunate to have everyone around us that we do to help us in this, like we're calling it a regrow, but we're just, we just can't wait to be producing food for everyone again. It's truly a privilege.
Thanks, Chloe.
Thank you very much.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtyLinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This